everyone, Ivy League Gaming here, and today we're playing Eternal Evolution. And for today's video, we're going to talk about how to gear your tank type champions. We're going to talk about the champions that fulfill that role best, and well, we're going to do that in a little bit of a tier list style as well. We're going to start with the best, go to the worst, but don't worry, some of the ones in between are kind of debatable on who's best, who's worst, whatever. And make sure you actually listen to what I'm saying for some of these, because some of these are conditional, which we're going to talk about with the very first character. Some of them, for especially this category of tank, are not really good as a tank unless you have a very special thing to pair with them. But you guys want to know not just who's the best tank, right? You want to know, what gear do I put on them? How do I build them? What are the best options? So we're going to talk about that today. So let's get started first with a top tier champion, Crete. He is a beast. He's actually kind of fun to build, a little bit hybrid. Personally, I'm using my Crete with crit damage or crit rate and then defense stats as well, and letting him do a bit of damage while he also is kind of like either the main tank or a secondary tank kind of role on my team. He's fun, but I don't have him built as a pure tank at the moment because you kind of want a Prism Amulet for him to excel in endgame content. So I'm going to show you guys that, but first let's talk Crete here. I'm not going to go through all these champion skills because, you know, you can do that on your own, right? We're not here to talk skills. We're here to talk about how do we build them? What do we need? But he is a defense-based champion. He does deal defense. His damage is based on defense. So that also makes it kind of fun. And he's going to hit a lot harder than your Arthas. Guys, stop building Arthas so much. Kidding, not kidding. Anyway, but what do we need for Crete? Besides the idea of getting a Chaos, as I look at his name, Chaos Bull, besides the idea of having a Prism Amulet Divine Prototype, which I'll show you in a minute, overall, you're going to be looking for some survivability. So first off, shouts to my guild leader, cluster leader of Celestials, and now moderator, woohoo, go Ricky, Ricky Maru, for his wonderful tier list that he wonderful little equipment guide that he put up. I'm going to be referencing that because it's just a simple way to reference some basic stats here that we're going to be looking for gear-wise and, yeah, overall. So, first off, gloves. You're going to probably want HP percentage gloves and helmet if you're going to build him as a proper tank. I know his damage is based on defense, so you might be like, oh, put pure defense in him. But if you want him to be a tank for real, as the main tank on your front line, HP is important. And that's the thing that people get distracted by when building your lower tier champions like Arthas. You see defense and you're just like, go, go, go. But you can't forget HP. HP is very important for survivability for your champions. Also, this damage reduction boot. That is what this means right there. Damage reduction boot of 40%. That's what he means. That is really, really helpful. Damage reduction is really good in this game for any of your tank champions or your healers even. It can be really helpful. And then we're going to be aiming for 3 health sets, believe it or not, if you want to build him as a pure tank. Now we're not talking any damage. We're not worried about it. We're just talking about him being the tank, and he is one of the best tanks in the game, if not the best, if you have a Prism Amulet on him. But we'll get to that again, I swear I will. So first off, when you're looking for substats, you're going to be looking for HP, damage reduction, defense, and then crit damage reduction. I feel like crit damage reduction is more of a PvP thing that you're worried about, but that's a little bit secondary. But if you want him to excel overall, HP, damage reduction, HP or defense percentage as well are what you're looking for in your substats. Now overall, when it comes to your total stats, now when we talk total stats, guys, I noticed I was confused because the stats you see with equipment, it looks like it's total stats, but it's not. It's actually on that main info page. When you click this is your total stats. This is your total stats. So we're talking what he needs. Of course, this is from the gallery, so it doesn't show everything, but what you want for him is HP aimed at 3. We're going to talk endgame, okay? Sorry, we're going to talk very endgame, so at least you guys know what you try to get to. 3 million HP, 10k defense, 80% damage reduction, and 30% crit damage reduction. So that's what we're talking about here. When you click the info and you see the stats, the total that adds up. That's what I'm going to be referencing for the rest of this video and the other ones too. And we're going to keep talking because we're talking tanks. We're going to be talking about this Prism Amulet a few times. This is best to put on someone like Crete or Arthas, or also Aguanyo, if you are actually going to want to make them a tank versus a damage dealer. So what this does for Vanguard type champions, when Vanguards receive damage, 40% is slowly taken over, or sorry, 45% is slowly taken over 8 seconds. If the Vanguard kills an enemy during this period, all delayed damage is cleared. Like, this is a really quirky, unique kit here. It's really fun. I mean, the kit. Unique skill here to be added to your Vanguard champions. Amulets, divine prototypes are very valuable in this game. So if you have the chances to get some of these mythic divine prototypes, try to do it. And with that in mind, that is why we save our recruitment cards for events, because at the very end of these events, which you cannot see right now, at the very end, it doesn't just go to 500, guys. It goes to 900 and sometimes to 1100 total summons, not points. These are that's how many summons, which was not hard for me to save when even being totally free to play. It was not hard to save, actually, believe it or not. Anyway, at the end, past this, sometimes there are prototypes given as rewards in these recruitment events. So it's really valuable to try to get stuff like that. But let's continue with the list. I just wanted to take a bit more time on that first part of discussion because we're going to be referencing some of that throughout the rest of this video. And why don't we head back into the same faction and talk about another champion. Now, I would say Crete is on the very, very top. Now let's talk about a few people that are on the just below that secondary top tier. Not the best in the game, but priority. So let's talk Boar. Boar is a strong tank as well. Really cool champion. He's someone that I'm only recently actually starting to utilize. But I really do like Boar's skills, and he seems like he'd be a lot of fun. He does have damage based on attack, so it's not exactly a concern for there. In most of these tanks, you're not going to be worried about damage anyway. It's just, it's really hard to build people for hybrid stuff because then they don't really excel in one area. So let's talk Boar. All right, Boar, same thing, guys. A lot of this is going to be very repetitive because it's the same idea, right? So talking Boar, we're talking another tank, simple tank, easy as is, HP percentage gloves, HP percentage boot, damage reduction, HP percentage gloves, HP percentage helmet, damage reduction boot. That's what we want on him as well. And then we're going to be looking for those 3 health sets ideally as well. And all right, we have HP percentage, same thing, damage reduction, defense percentage, crit damage reduction. Looking just for the same things, just like Crete, and same main stats that you're trying to get. You kind of aim for that high HP of like 3 million HP. When we're talking our main stat here, 10k defense, 80% damage reduction, and 30% crit damage reduction. All right, next up, let's talk Oak. Oak is a champion that is really great, especially for PvE. Really fun kit as well. Very, very strong. Should definitely be one of the champions that you put in your wish list for summoning advanced tickets. Absolutely put him in there. And he is very much like the other ones. So we're going to be aiming for those same type of stats and same gear. HP percentage gloves, HP percentage helmet, damage reduction boot, 3 health sets, and then focusing HP, damage reduction, defense percentage, and crit damage reduction. Aiming for that 3 million HP total, 10k defense, 80% crit damage reduction, and 30% crit damage reduction. Heading over to Terran, let's talk about my first tank that I really focused on, Hercules. He is also a top tier tank, great champion as well. And I do want to note, yes, this one is going to be the same as well for our stats. But there are some of these champions that you'll notice have shields. I think, let's see here, right here. He does do shields, but in some cases, you still want to focus the HP depending on the rest of the skill details or the benefit of HP versus the shield bonus. So some of these will be different. Everyone's not going to say the same thing here. You'll notice in a minute. But yeah, when it comes to most of the champions, you're still going to go just HP percentage priority over the Herald set with the shield. And Hercules is going to be the same. We're going to be looking for HP gloves, HP helmet, damage reduction boot with 3 health sets, and the same notes for substats and your overall stat goals. But I love Hercules. I used him widely early on. He's really great for PvP as well. And let's stay in the same faction here. Oysa is also a tank that most of you guys are getting early. And you want to make sure you're building her correctly too. And well, surprise, surprise, not surprise, we are going to say the same goals for this one as well. Let's stick to the same for her too. Just that HP percent with damage reduction boot focus and 3 health sets as well for Oysa. She's good, but I wouldn't put her on the top tier. I'm actually surprised that some people put her there. I feel like she's more of an A tier, not an S tier. But she is going to be better than some of the other options that we can get early on as well. So don't worry, guys. If you invested a lot in your Oysa, you'll probably use her in content. You're going to eat them through the soul rubelite mines and all that fun stuff anyway. So not too bad. Let's head on over to the Atlas again and talk our first SSS of this lower tier category. We are going to talk Zyda. So I would say she's still on, I would definitely put her in the S category, second tier, not the top like Crete, but she's up there. But the problem with Zyda is those other ones that we just talked about can kind of do her job. You know, it's not like she's not the tank you need to invest in. You'd much rather prioritize Crete if you're choosing a triple S to go after for sake of your tank role. And then beyond that, all of the other tanks that we already talked about are pretty solid for the job. You'd much prioritize a damage dealer or someone else, or like Mazrani for healing, before you would get Zyda maxed out. And you kind of want her high-end exclusive before you're really going to truly see her potential. So while she is a really good champion, she's not someone you're going to prioritize early on. She's someone you're going to build eventually once you've built all the other priorities, but she's not going to be your main focus. And for her, things are a little bit different. She does actually have better stats because she is a triple S champion, right? So because her stats are a little bit better too, I think you can get away with this one with still HP percentage gloves, HP percentage helmet, and damage reduction boots, but you'd probably want to get her in a Herald set, which is the shield set that gives 30% extra, and also 1 health set along with her. You're still looking for the same stats for a tank: HP percentage, damage reduction, defense percentage, and crit damage reduction, with the same goals in mind of 3 million HP, 10k defense, damage reduction, and crit damage reduction. But I think because she has a little bit better stats being a triple S champion, that you can get away with actually taking advantage of a shield set on her versus some of the others that you probably went and put a shield set on right away. I mean, I'm guilty of that. I definitely, I think I still have my Hercules in a shield set. I probably need to change that by now. But you know, the gear gets spread so thin, and even though I've been playing for quite a while, it's hard to put the ideal gear on everybody, right? You kind of have to figure it out. All right, let's go to our lower tier. Maybe, I think if you guys are referencing Killua's tier list, I think he has these champions when I looked on the A tier, I believe. All right, we have Koite. He always confuses me. I always think he's in Wenfear because he's like, he seems just like an animal, right? Like a rhino or something. I don't know. But I guess he's just more of a weirdo alien that's part of this other faction. Anyway, he's a lower tier champion. You're gonna get him early, but he's all right. Not the worst, but definitely not a priority. But let's just talk generals. Same for him. We'll go by him quick. Same thing. HP percentage focus with damage reduction boots, and the same thing. You want health on him. You might need him early on, especially for the soul rubelite stuff, or soul mines. The soul mine is what I meant to say. He could be really helpful there, and I mean, when it comes to starting out, you kind of need to just use who you got. Then you could eventually replace them with better champions, which this game makes easy. We have the reset feature, plus you can even reset your talent trees. If you put a bunch of soul potions there and you want to put them somewhere else, just go click here, reset. There's a reset button in the actual ones that you have on your account, and you're good to go. So you're probably not going to use him forever, but he'll get you started. And in this same area, we have your free champion that everyone seems to love but doesn't realize falls off pretty quick, Artaz. He is really cool. It's kind of sad. I hope they buff him and make him a bit better overall. He is really fun. He's the free champion for everybody. So you guys probably are getting some dupes of him, but don't put him in your wish list for your advanced summons. He's definitely not a priority. He's not the person you should be buying from any of those other shops as well. He's okay. He's a little bit confusing because he sounds like he could be a good defense-based damage dealer, but he kind of has mid-tier stats overall, so he might be someone you end up building as a tank instead. But if you're going to build him as a tank, keep in mind he is a Vanguard hero, so if you can get a Prism Amulet, you're going to want to use that prototype if he's in the roster. But just keep that in mind. Prism Amulet's pretty cool to be able to use some characters differently if you can get your hands on one. But Artaz is going to be really squishy overall, so just like the others, even though he's, again, like Crete, defense-based with damage and whatnot, if you're going to use him as a tank in that front line, you're going to want HP percentage focus, HP percentage gloves, helmet, damage reduction boots, and HP sets on Artaz with the same goal of stats. I mean, for him, it's a little bit harder, I think, to get the stats, so I think the aim here, 2.5 million is a safe bet for your goals with defense at 10k, damage reduction at 80%, and 30% crit damage reduction. Alright, heading over here again, we have Guan Yu. He was a really cool sounding champion when he first came out, but I think overall he's not that great to be a tank and not that great for damage either. Unfortunately, he is defense-based for damage as well. I keep getting excited when I see these defense-based damage dealers, but unfortunately they just don't seem to do as much damage compared to other champions. And when you're going to invest in a triple S champion, you've really got to prioritize like the key 5 versus some of these A tier, B tier champions. So if you do end up getting him and you're wanting to use him as a tank, same thing. He is a Vanguard champion, so you can use a Prism Amulet to make him tougher and last a lot longer. And same stats we'll be looking for him: HP percentage focus, damage reduction boots, health sets, and then he has decent stats, so you can focus, try to get that 3 million HP, 10k defense, 80% crit damage reduction, and 80% damage reduction and 30% crit damage reduction for stats. Alright, and last but not least, our lowest tier of the tanks, guys, is probably Langle. I think that's a good consensus. I know overall when we talk tier lists or whatever, I know a lot of people are against tier lists, but let's be honest, we kind of, as new players, people need them for references. So just knowing in general who's okay and who's not okay, even though that's opinions, it still helps someone figure out who to build. And when it comes to tanks, unfortunately, this little elephant here or mammoth, is not the greatest. So again, simple build stats like I'm putting up there. Boom, you know the drill. You're gonna want HP focused and damage reduction boots if you can. So really a champion that's fun that we get right away, but try not to invest multiple copies of him too much in it unless you have to. I mean, personally, early on, I think I just put whatever dupes I got into him, and you ended up using him once I unlocked the faction side of the soul mine. But besides using him in the faction part of the soul mine while you're working on getting other characters, you're probably not going to use him. But if you do, keep a lookout again for those 3 health sets. So that does it all for the tanks, guys. Thank you for watching. Get farming, get saving, get crafting for that health gear. You're looking for those specific stats, and there's only so many to go around, I'm sure, on your account. So keep an eye out for that and keep that in mind, and see the value of damage reduction boots. It really does make a big difference for keeping your champions alive in PvE and in PvP. But hope you guys like this. I'll have more for the others, and I'll see you in the next video.
Eternal Evolution. Play now for free.